Hi there, my name is Michael Hill, and I'm here with Canine Chronicle TV and Marcelo Veras for our Influencers series. And we're going to talk about the people who influenced Marcelo and made him the dog person that he is today. How are you, Marcelo?
Hi, Michael. How are you? Good to see
I am
you.
good. Good to see you. Let's start at the very beginning. How did you first get started in the sport of dogs? Who made that happen for you?
Well, the long view of everything is I went to a dog show where in the Freeze Tucson Sporting Field, a Siberian Husky got to win Best in Show. I was a child. I was sitting there and I was fascinated by the whole thing. And I researched more and more about shows. And in my state, I had 2 shows a year. So you really had to travel out of the state to go. I remember myself chasing my dad to sign authorization as I was 14 to get in a bus because the dog was flying over to the next state with a friend that was picking up the dog. You know, it wasn't just going to Sherpa and go. I mean, we went through the ringer in Brazil, back in Brazil to do all this. And the guy who first gave me a ride to the dog show is now our president of the federation.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing how that evolved and we're still together and doing the same thing over and over.
How did you just meet him at that first show? How did that connection happen?
No, I actually returned one of my very first dog that I wanted to buy, purebred dog, was a Doberman, a red Doberman bitch. And my mother said no, and I went to return her. And when I returned her, they were backing up to go to the dog show. I jumped in the back of the pickup truck and I went to the dog show.
Well, that backfired for your mom.
Right, it did. And to this day, I still have Dobermans. But that's not how it started. I had Siberian Huskies.
Okay.
At first, who led me to hiring Marcelo Chagas, who I worked together for 7 years, and he was a great mentor to me before we ever came here. Yeah.
And were you doing multiple breeds then at that point, or was it just the Huskies?
We did multiple breeds in Brazil. Yeah, definitely in higher level too, which brought us often here. And that's one of the people that I think it's very important in my life here in the United States as my career was Joy Bear. I'm sure you have met her with the African Hounds. And she was married to Gunter and a great terrier man. And we used to come, Marcelo and I used to come here and stay at her place. And it was just an incredible experience to always be there. And her Afghans were so apart from the terriers, and yet they're one same environment. So they all had a good alpha and beautiful attitude. And if you look down the dogs she showed, they all carried that I'm superior attitude.
I'm a star.
Right. So I owe a lot to her from finding those dogs and creating them and willing them to do that for the performances, for the shows, for, finding the ones that are beautiful. Right, like beautiful nuances of the breed. I mean, they've got to look like the breed. And then you just add the extra. It's not just about going in and ta-da. Every canine can do a free stack and look beautiful for 3 seconds, but can they carry themselves around like that? So I find that's very important.
Like creating them to actually be a show dog.
Right, and be yourself, right? And be with that animal and be with in sync. It's not just, they're not robots. Be lively, be aware of what they're supposed to do, what they're bred for, what their gait should look like, educate yourself a little bit. And I remember sitting at Joy's tables after big dog shows. We always came to Westchester, Trenton, Bucks, Westminster. So we came back to her house and we just kind of like just sat and talked over and over about what we did, what we didn't do, what was right, what could have been better, and all that stuff. So that always, to this day, she calls and we still discuss things like that, even though we're not showing all the time together, not traveling together, not staying together. We're still very connected on what we do.
The relationship is still there and alive.
It did. And when you come to it, you ask me, can I get 3 people? And I said, yeah, I can. It's a lot. There's so many branches. From Joy, who I met the most important, influential people in the sport, right? Before ever I became a handler here professionally, I already knew these people that as idols. They weren't friends. You know, I had Linda Pitts and Cocker Spaniels in my walls in the grooming room as a kid. You know, you always want to have those. And to this day, you watch her perform with one of her dogs. It's different. You know, it's different. It comes as a weight. It comes as brownie points. You know, she's not going to pick up just another dog to walk around the ring. It's unnecessary to do that. They've been doing so many years. They're the place in the sport they are. It's very dignified, and because we know the amount of work that's put into it.
Yeah, it's hard
for that to happen.
Sustained for generations, basically, of dogs.
Right. In my generation, we sort of slaves for knowledge, right? We were assistants for years on, and learning from those professionals how to create those animals.
It wasn't
that
starting off
time that they were. No, it wasn't just. Now there's a lot of people that are very fortunate to have their junior little career and learn on a daily basis. It's not the same, you know. It's the evolution, I believe.
Yeah.
But it's like the evolution. It's always going to happen. We just got to adjust. You know, sometimes you used to complain about that judge that doesn't like hairspray. Now I feel like one of those people. You know what I mean? that judge doesn't like color, and I always catch myself. Why is that much color? You know what I mean? We become the old news, and at the same time, we're still the root of this sport. You know, I remember in the '90s, I was with Joy at the wine country in New York, and Bill McFadden was showing Mick the Carry. And I had a wire fox terrier that I loved, who ended up winning the breed at Montgomery. Out of the blue, that my idol, Bill McFadden, walks into the setup and said, "Hey, this is for you." And he brought me a stripping knife. Wow. Clearly, I wasn't doing probably as well as I should, or my tools weren't so good. You know, but that amulet, Right. And that to this day inspired me. You know, I carry it everywhere. Wow. I just lost another day, and I lost my mind for a little bit. And it's funny because we're somewhat connected. You know, I adore these people as friends and professionals, and I always carry that little piece of advice, that little piece of knowledge that we exchange when we see each other. You know, I have major respect for that. And it's what carries you forward. You know, I want to be able to groom a Cocker Spaniel like Linda Pitts. You know, I would like to groom a wire fox terrier like Bill McFadden. And that's, to me, what's important, what you carry forward. You know, it's not fluff here, spray here, cut there. It's let them wear their coat. Let them be dogs, and you being visible.
Right, exactly. You're actually presenting a dog, not yourself.
Right. Yes, I find that very important for what we're trying to discuss. So I bring that up a lot.
And so then, as you're making this transition, you know, to the States, and you're again having big wins, Montgomery, that kind of thing. Was there anybody who particularly was impactful in like kind of guiding you to compete at that higher level when you're no longer an assistant and you're becoming a professional handler who's at that kind of, you know, campaigning and high level winning? Was there anybody who was impactful in that?
Well, in the high level winning campaigns, I always started the young dogs. You know, in my new career that I've been doing the last few years, it's with puppies and young dogs. And that reflected all throughout my career. I always worked harder on the younger dogs that became winning dogs. You know, the traveling constant it's a everyday work. And for those dogs to be enjoying that lifestyle, they have to be special. They need to be very connected to what they do and enjoy it. And it's important for us to do it. And everybody can be number one, right? If you put all the work into it with a nice dog, good type, sound movement. And you can, I'm sure there'll be people supporting you to do your run. You know, we can all reach for the stars.
Right. So, and then also you've had experience as a breeder. Were there any people who were kind of helpful in guiding you in that process?
Uh, as a breeder, I'm very loyal to my mentor, right? And it's too very hard to talk about it. Gwenda Milton to me was a goddess, and I, as much as I can't talk about her without getting a little emotion, because she's the one who always was. I can relate that if you come talk to me, you're gonna get an answer, and that's black and white, and it's not going to be fluffed, and she was not the right person to come up to you and say hi, and can you fluff this up for me? There was no fluffing. At the end of the
Nothing
day, she was this huge heart. She has this immense heart, and she was so honest about what she wanted for her breed and for her dogs that it's undescribable, that relationship I had with her.
Fierce
You know,
loyalty.
it's immense loyalty, and it was, no, we're not doing this. It wasn't like questionable, but she always included me, even though it wasn't, I don't want this. It was, oh, no, we are not doing this. And that transfers a lot, right? It's a family. It's a group of people that move this together, creating better dogs. We can't fight all their health issues. We can manage them as much as possible. But we are responsible for all of them, not just the show dogs.
Absolutely. Such an important facet, because you are responsible for every dog you bring.
Right. I remember walking one of my first Dobermans by Lena George, and she goes, "That's a beautiful bitch. Who is your mentor?" That was her very first question. I adore Linda, and I said, "It's Gwen. I've been with her, following her guidance for the longest time." She goes, "There's nothing better than that." So there's two greats talking about each other out of nothing. Lena didn't know me. It was just,
that's a testament to the work.
Everything that has gone from heart, soul, and sweat and tears, and years and years and years. So I am very loyal to that. I'm very loyal to that. And
she was able to witness the success you were having with, your most recent puppies,
Yes, our puppies. But it was so many wrongs. We did so many tries. And at every try that we did it wrong, I remember her keep saying, it shouldn't be this difficult. It shouldn't be this difficult. And at the end of the day, it was the simplest way. that just the persistency of doing it right. Keep doing it. You keep at it. You keep at it. Yes. So there's that. I was very, when you ask me who am I going to talk about, it's hard not to talk about her, right? She's such an immense, and when I realized the depth of knowledge and how deep she is involved in this sport, I was just one of the other ones. You know what I mean? I was just one of the other ones with her immense tentacles, just like an octopus. She patted so many people, but she never let you down, ever. But she was not going to compromise. She was not going to compromise about her dogs. There was no compromising. No, there was none of that. So, and I've tried not to be as severe, but I am. My dogs are related to her bloodlines. We follow the rules. There are rules, and we're going to follow them.
That's her influence.
Yes.
So looking back on these different people and these different components at different phases in your life, are there any things that kind of shape how you engage with people who are younger or newer to the sport to kind of guide them, in creating a long-term involvement with the sport of dogs?
I try to guide them as much as possible, how we did in our way back when. Like now it sounds like way back when. It's funny because I was talking to a girl from overseas another day, next to my setup here in Ocala, and she said, "It's funny that you don't tease and you don't spray up that dog's face." And I looked at her and said, "Why should I? Doesn't it look correct?" And she goes, "It does. I was wondering how you do that." and we discussed that. So in her mind, that's how she learned. It's a new generation, you know. You spray it up and you do this and you do that, and boom, boom, voila, it's ready. In my generation, some judges would frown up on you if you came up with a hairspray by the ring, you know. So everything was done before, and you walked your dog and up, and you know there was no extra. There's a lot of extra. Yeah, there's a lot of extra, like almost like a little bit of grooming competition nowadays.
Sure, sure. And as
Which is fun to watch good professionals, right? It's always good. It's fun. And when I mentioned these people, I was thinking about it, Michael. When I mentioned Gwen, when I mentioned Bill, when I mentioned Linda, when I mentioned Joy, these people are huge influence on me, and they helped me find my balance about everything.
Balance,
you know, about who I am on this sport. So you have got to not compromise your dogs and your breeding and your health. And you know, they're not all going to be show dogs, but they are living critters, and you've got to guide them to the best of what they can be. Let's see what they can be, right? They all have space to do agility, obedience. There's great companions, service dogs. There's so many options. So Gwen taught me to be responsible for them.
right?
Joy taught me to be the best they can be, to make them be the best they can be. Linda, I always thought when we talked to her about the show, she always helps you take chances. She always helps you take the next level. She always helps you to do a little better. And Bill, and Bill is funny because his Bill, right? It's almost like Orkonku. You know it's gonna be a great performance. You know it's gonna be a great dog. Him and Taff are not gonna run around the country with a dog that's gonna be just halfway. It's just not gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? And I love the most as those dogs, they wear themselves. They are, you know, they wear their coat, they wear their collar, they wear their breed, they wear their type too. You know, it's so fun to see, so inspiring.
Well, and it's fun to see those influences in you and the work that you're doing, you know, in your own right.
Yes, well, but slowly you have to find yourself, right? We work for so many years on supporting your spouse or your partner or your colleague or
Your boss.
your boss, and you follow all that. When it's your turn, you gotta create yourself. So I think you have the positive pieces and connect them both all together, and that makes it happen.
I love it. Well, Marcelo, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for sharing about these people who have impacted you, all greats in the dog world, and it's surely shown as well.
Thank you. Good seeing you.
So good to see you. Have a great day, Marcelo.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.